All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Studio Talk. I'm Alina. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a white Latinx queer individual.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm Ava. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a white, able-bodied person.
So, Studio Talk is an educational discussion space that opens conversations on various social identities and how they intersect with dance. And it began as a monthly workshop series back in fall 2020 and has now converted into a mandatory DEI workshop for all members of the Leslie dance team.
And we hold Studio Talk to create a supportive environment where everyone feels included with our team and actively learns how to embody all three qualities of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We should all be actively learning how the importance of intersectionality and continuously throughout our lives. And that is why we've gathered you here today to hold Studio Talk. All right. And we're going to go through the schedule for tonight. So feel free to screenshot and look back and take breaks when you need. Stay hydrated. So we're going to start out with our intro and warm up. And then later we're going to get into our opening question, talk about race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, have our break at 5:40. Then we'll get into sexuality, ability, body image, have our activity / debrief, then do a little bit of self-care and have our closing question at 6:25.
So here are some things that we need from y'all, and we will also hold ourselves accountable to all of these things. So as our facilitators, we just need everyone to please mute yourself unless you are speaking. And this will only be speaking during questions, both the opening question and the activity. So only those times for other people to speak, just so we can focus on all of the content and get through our schedule nice and smoothly. If you feel comfortable, we would love for you to keep your videos on, especially while speaking, but this is recorded. So you may have your video in the recording if that does something you're comfortable with. You can use the chat feature if you're having trouble jumping into the discussion, or if you have any questions, we'll be on top of it as much as we can while we're presenting. We want you to be comfortable with silence and be mindful and intentional while you are speaking. So making sure that you have all your thoughts ready to go when you are speaking, so we know exactly what you want to say. And we're going to use I versus we statements. So I know I'm using them right now, but that's just because we have our needs. And so speak from your personal perspective rather than an entire group's perspective.
All right. And we'll also, if someone said what you said, it's okay to reference them. We're going to use the clapping reactions on Zoom. And then we have unlearning. Blank is my first thought, but my second action is. The ability to make mistakes without judgment, and then patience and openness for new perspectives that you'll be hearing today as well.
All right. So we're going to get started first by having a land acknowledgement. In our approach to diversity and equity and inclusion in social justice, it's really critical that we ground ourselves in our own socio-historical context. So this land acknowledgement does not exist in a past tense or solely historical context, because colonialism is a current and ongoing process, and that's what we need to break down. So we need to build our mindfulness in our present participation. While we're all in different parts of the world right now, or maybe we're back on campus, we all share the same space of Leslie University, which resides on the Stolen Wampanoag territory. This first link that will be dropped in the chat if you want to use can be used to find what land that you personally are located on. You can drop any city, any zip code into it. So maybe you want to do your hometown and see all about that. And then the second link is some nonprofit organization that you can support, the Red Hawk Council, and they put on festivals, workshops, and different things in the tri-state area honoring Indigenous culture. So we're just going to take a second to sit in the silence of the colonialism that we have been participating in.
Okay. And then we are all here in progress of learning, and I want to open the space for anyone to call us in on any language or information that we discuss. We acknowledge that we are white and able-bodied people, and that our privilege as white people will always be the first thing that grants us access to many of our rights. We all use our privilege as a form of support for the voices of marginalized groups and to share these stories of these powerful dancers.
All right, so we're gonna start with a body warm up. I'm just gonna pause the screen sharing really quickly. And I'm gonna lead y'all in a quick little stretch. So I personally am sitting in my rolly chair right now. I tend to like roll around quite a bit. So my legs are always being stretched, but we're gonna stretch our upper body. So waist up. So you're gonna take your neck and you're gonna roll it all the way around. And you're gonna roll it the opposite way. And then you're gonna look down and take your hands on the back of your neck and slowly and very gently push down. And then you're gonna release your hands and look all the way up. Should feel a nice stretch right at your throat here. And then you're gonna tilt your head all the way to the right. Look down, come around to the other side. And recenter. You're gonna take your right arm, you're gonna put it across your chest, and you're gonna push in with your left arm. And you're gonna release and do it on the opposite side. So left arm across your chest and push in with your right. Then you're gonna bring your left arm behind your neck and you're gonna pull just a little bit with your right arm. And you're gonna switch. And release. So you can do any of those stretches while we are presenting on our break afterwards. It's really good to just get your upper body flowing, especially while we're sitting at our computers all day. So I'll start sharing my screen again. Can everyone see this? Perfect.
Okay. And so before the presentation, I'd like to ask for 2 volunteers to answer our opening question by using the hand feature on Zoom. And if anybody who wants to speak up would like us to stop the recording, and we can pause and do that as well. So when was a time that a dancer in your life inspired you, and what was inspiring about it? Yeah, Jordan.
My old dance teacher from my old studio that I used to participate in really inspires me just because she single-handedly she was a single mom of 3 children and who are also dancers. And as like being the single mom of her daughters, she was able to start her own business from her house, and that's how she grew the studio. And I just think the duality of being able to be a successful businesswoman doing what she loves while raising all her daughters was really inspiring.
That's so cool.
Thank you, Jordan, for sharing. We can take one more person. We have Rachel/Lauren.
This is Lawrence.
Oh, it's mine. Okay.
Yeah.
I think for me, a woman that I follow on TikTok, Megan Bowen, she really has inspired me because she doesn't look like a typical dancer, and she's kind of trying to like break down barriers to show that like in New York City you can be a professional dancer, even like a Rockette, and you don't have to look a certain way. And I think that that's really inspiring as someone who also doesn't have like the typical dance body.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. All right, just for the sake of time, we do have to move on, but if you have any anyone else in your life, you can always put them in the chat feature. And if they're on Instagram or they have a studio that we can support, feel free to drop their links. All right, so we're gonna start out with merengue. Merengue is a couple dance which originates in the Dominican Republic and also Haiti. It's a fast and upbeat dance that can also be with different variations. So in different regions of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, there are different specific styles and moves that they do. It was strongly influenced by Venezuelan and Afro-Cuban musical practices. And it was also influenced by other dance styles in Latin America. It's used at parties, at festivals, and also in the ballroom dance community. It also follows a 5-beat rhythmic pattern called quintillo. There are multiple origin stories that go around depending where you hear them. One story that goes around that it was originated when slaves were chained together and they were forced to drag one leg as they cut the cane sugar. And they did this to the beat of the drum. So that's kind of how they started with the 1-2 step of it. Another origin story suggests that it was this great hero that was wounded in one of the Dominican revolutions, and a party of villagers welcomed him home, and out of sympathy, they all danced dragging one foot. So here in the photo is one of the festivals, and this is typically what they wear. They're very long, flowy skirts, and they have a long ruffles around them, and they are in red, white, and blue, which is the Dominican flag. Another style of dance, not from Dominican Republic, but from India, is Bharatanatyam, which breaks down to emotion, melody, and rhythm. Many Indian traditional dances were declining in popularity once the British colonial rule took over in the 19th century. A lot of Christian missionaries launched an anti-dance movement in 1892 to stop all the dances that were happening that were traditional to Indian styles. And they also started banning dances in Hindu temples in 1910. And it was Krishna Iyer, who was a lawyer and a judge, who brought back all of the dances through fighting for them. So dancers in this style wear pleated saris, makeup that accentuate their eyes to show different expressions. It's a very expressive dance with the face and different hand movements that are really intricate. They also wear traditional jewelry, which is typically gold, so it shines in the light, especially on stage when they're performing, and their hair has flowers in it. On their ankles, they wear gurungu, which is one of the leather straps, and they have really small metallic bells on them. So when they kick their legs or move their feet, it goes to the rhythm of the music. And their hands and feet are also highlighted with henna, which is typically red.
Awesome. So in discussion of artistic privilege, whether it's lessons, paying for dance attire, costumes, transportation, and so much more, art costs a lot of money. Akediuba highlights that coming from a lower socioeconomic background does not allow you the easiest pathway to the luxury of pursuing what moves you. She was born in Nigeria and raised in the United States since the age of 3, and Akediuba has overcome so many obstacles in order to participate in her high school's theater department. Her mother was fired from her job while she was at a very young age and wasn't able to pay rent and provide basic living necessities her family needed. Because of this drastic change, it forced Akediuba to move to 3 different high schools across the US and wrestle with the idea that she wouldn't have the chance to attend college as well. However, she was admitted into Pepperdine University, which is a top 50 university, for their theater program. And she explained the challenges she faced when she joined the school, explaining the overwhelming pressure of messing up since she did lack the formal training compared to her wealthier peers. And in her words, she said, "If I had the opportunity, resources, time, money, I would have done ballet, I would have taken tap, I would have took jazz. If it was something that was in my toolbox to use, I would have." And below I have attached a resource you guys can use in your spare time titled "What to Do if you can't afford dance." And it includes a detailed list of alternative options that are more affordable, creative, and inclusive in a workspace environment for dancers to explore different ways to incorporate dance into their lives.
So, at least personally in my life, I do not know any famous non-binary dancers besides this person that I happened to find, Caleb Teacher. Um, so especially growing up, I didn't really have any trans role models who were in the dance world or any of my life. And it was really interesting to see how predominantly women were in the studio. So Caleb Tacher is a non-binary dancer in a dance crew in New York City. They travel down to South Carolina to perform in live dance shows for Charleston's annual Spoleto Festival. They primarily do Lindy Hop and tap, but have been trained in multiple different dance styles. And just for clarification, Lindy Hop originated in Harlem's 1930s by the Black community. So while they are a white dancer, they have learned a lot about Lindy Hop and the community that it has come from just by dancing with the community itself. So they describe different dance styles as having binary roles, but they're still able to move through them very fluidly. So for example, like if it's a couple dance, they can dance with multiple different genders. And as a non-binary person, it's not as restricting as some other dance styles. So they quote, "What I love about dance is that it's an opportunity for you to relate to yourself and to get to know your body. By getting to know your body, you get to know you. All of the important realizations I've had about myself have been in me as a physical person." So this is them dancing on stage. They're just vibing. It's all vibes.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna take a little 5-minute break. You guys can grab some water, a snack, use the bathroom, do what you need to do. In a little bit, we're gonna be journaling. So if you could grab something you want to write with, some pens, pencils, and this can also be on your computer or phone as well. But you guys can take a little break too.
No using the chat, right?
Hi, Kate. You
Hi.
can use the chat if you need something related to Studio Talk.
But
So right now we're
don't-
just taking a 5-minute break.
Have I used it for anything inappropriate?
I haven't taken a look at it yet, but I will let you know in a private DM.
Yeah, if you see anything inappropriate, let me know.
Yeah.
But I think
thank you.
Jesse said to keep it to related things.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You can
Why
go
did
take your
she?
5-minute break.
When?
Hi, y'all.
Welcome back.
I hope y'all got some water. You hydrated.
Yeah, I got iced tea.
Good.
That
Get that
hopefully-
Arizona.
It's so good, I promise.
All right. So we're gonna get back into it. We're really excited for the other half. All right. So in mainstream media, there is a very large shame of sexuality, in general, just like the desire of someone else or yourself, or other people. So there's a shame around this, and it's mostly to aid the preservation of what's pure, especially from a religious standpoint. So in dance, this viewpoint can really sexualize young children, especially girls, which a lot of costuming can maybe show their belly or have less clothing on. So them wearing less clothing or dancing with certain gestures is not an invitation to sexualize them at all. So if you take pole dancing, for example, it uses different aspects of self-expression and body movement as a way to empower oneself. It's used by all genders, and it is now commonly used by strippers and also in exercise. There's a lot of studios now that have pole dancing as fitness because it takes so much upper body strength, leg strength, core strength. It's really all over. So there's a lot of different variations of pole dancing. It also originated in different parts of China, in India, and in Africa. They all had different styles. And then it was kind of modified to this newer and modern metal pole. Pole dancing can also help release a lot of sexual tension, religious trauma, gender trauma, and it helps dancers take more agency over their own bodies. It can be sexual, or it can also be a form of fitness, and it's really up to the dancer to decide. They can also coexist. So Delija Franklin is the founder of Black Girls Pole, and their mission is to inspire, to uplift, and educate women of color about pole dancing and create more positive representation in the community. So in the chat, which Ava will drop in super shortly, is a link to their website with a list of all Black-owned studios around the US who are all pole dancing studios. There's one in Boston, there's quite a few in the New York area, but you can like check your hometown and take a class there if you'd like. Yeah, so I'd love, if anyone wants to go with me, like I really want to go. So, you know, I would love that. Email me.
I'll go with you.
Thanks, Ava.
You're welcome. Okay, so Ann Cooper is a professional dancer who wanted to express reclaiming her identity on stage and finding power through her movement. The image provided is Cooper during her performance of Expression, and she exclaimed that even with a disability, she wanted to choreograph a piece that challenged her audience. Being a body on display, she felt prepared to reside within a certain expectations of fitness and body control. She confronted her audience as a woman in a wheelchair as an attempt to both deconstruct the codes of dance production and communicate an other bodily reality. And then given that Western theatrical dance has been traditionally structured by a limited mindset, which projects dancers as white, female, thin, flexible, heterosexual, and able-bodied, this gave Cooper the opportunity to show her audience that she has complete control over herself and that the stage, and when it comes to the stage, and the cultural antithesis of being a dancer. She brings awareness to the overall cultural movement that revises the aesthetic of the dance performances and the theoretical space of disability studies into the realm of performing bodies. All right, and then during the rise of the pandemic in 2020, Lauren Lovett, a New York City ballet dancer, started questioning the aesthetic requirements of what it meant to have a ballet body. She wondered how her size influenced the act of her performance and how she could portray herself as a source of strength rather than agony. And if fitting the aesthetic requirements of ballet made her good enough to be a performer to begin with. These are standards that have become subjective, normally set by a white company director who lost the quality of individuality in their dancers, instead chose to follow the ideas of weight when considering placement. And then 32-year-old Catherine Morgan had similar questions regarding the aesthetic requirements when prompted by judges at the Miami City Ballet in the beginning of May 2019. Catherine, already being a size 2, also already spending years dealing with an autoimmune disease, was already forced to leave the New York City Ballet alongside Lauren. So when she arrived to Miami City Ballet, she was hopeful that this would be her chance to return on stage and know where she belonged. And after her performance, she was immediately told that she was, quote unquote, not in shape and her body wasn't where it needs to be. And these certain qualities, these judges are blinded by the bias that holds over their exclusive mindset of what a ballet dancer should be. It shouldn't leave the dancers wondering of their true potential and if they're worth it on the big stage. They should be admired and or critiqued of their performance and not their size.
All right, so we're gonna get into the activity right now. So grab something to write with. We can also give you like a few minutes to do so. But this can be a journal, it can be a piece of paper, a notes app, really anything that you can write your thoughts down onto. So for the length of a few songs, we're gonna play probably like 2-3 songs ish. We'll be journaling to the question of how has an identity you hold affected you in the dance setting. So we just talked about like different genders, sexualities, race, ethnicity, all of the things. You can also refer back to the schedule for the list of identity groups. And just, it doesn't need to be shared with anyone. We will be asking a few people to share anything that they would like to, but no pressure at all. And I'll list the songs below in the chat afterwards. So I'm going to start sharing my sound. I'll also have this question if Ava wants to drop it into the chat so people have, but yeah, super excited.
I know again. See mountains and mountains of clouds. So I'm searching, yeah, I'm searching for you now. Only good is not intent. Only good is not unfair. Yeah. Just say. See, we don't have to go without. Just say. Oh, say, well, I'm far from perfect. I see those pictures that you paint, the darkness in your days don't jay. They don't jay. What I'm saying. Oh, just say. Oh, you need somebody confident to say that you're gonna be okay. Well, I'll say it. Oh, I can't stay forever, but if this will go straight, I'll come and pick a catastrophe. That we don't have to go without. I'll say it. Oh, I'll say it.
I fell asleep in a stranger's bed in the house that I grew up in. Oh, I was hanging over the edge I was afraid of when I was just a kid. When I was just a kid. Ooh, is this it? Is this all there is? The friends I made inside my head, they were choking on medicine to cure themselves of what doesn't exist while I was peeling my old skin. Rip me out again. Ooh, is this it? Ooh, is this all there is? Ooh, somebody find me out. It's a long way down.
All right. I hope that was good for y'all. So just checking in. I will share first just to like show y'all the extent of what you can share, but you also don't have to share anything at all. We're also gonna pause the recording just to keep for confidentiality reasons. Oh my goodness. Just 1 second. Sorry, it's like asking for a passcode.
Don't apologize, you're good. Take your time.
So silly.
Awesome. So to get into a little bit of self-care, we have the 7 dimensions of wellness, which includes emotional, environmental, intellectual, occupational, physical, and social and spiritual. We have emotional, which is emotional regulation techniques such as breathing, visualizations, etc., honoring and using motion to work through our feelings. We have intellectual and mental, asking for help when needed, taking time to decompress after activity, and body scans. We also have physical, listening to body cues such as hunger, fatigue, etc. Adequate sleep, taking breaks when necessary, and warm showers, which is a must.
So these are all some ways that you can show self-care for yourself, which can be very difficult, especially I have a very busy schedule and I always struggle finding time for doing these things. But they're all good ways to do all good things to do before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning, especially like a body scan, making sure that you have enough of your daily needs, sleep, all these physical things. So in the dance studio, as we're going to start taking classes, this is really exciting because we're in person again. And there's a lot of social aspects on dance. Sometimes they can be really difficult, as we were just talking about. But on LUDT, we really try to make it as inclusive as possible. So we don't have those experiences here. Hence why we do this mandatory DEI training for everyone. So we're all on the same page and we have this extra knowledge under our belt. To use in the studio and outside of the studio. So some benefits of dance include the release of this very stagnant energy that we can get in our body. You can get this while just sitting around a lot or just not having as much movement. Mood can also affect this a lot. So if you have any mood disorders, or just, like everyone has different moods. So reacquainting oneself with the body, especially after trauma, this can help recenter yourself through movement. You're also commonly listening to music, even though there are styles of dance where you're not working with music. This also releases endorphins from physical activity. So when you break a sweat, you release the endorphins, and this therefore increases different hormones in your body that make you feel really good. This can also improve self-confidence, self-esteem, and also social skills because a lot of, at least on LUDT, our classes are a very social environment. We start with an opening question, which can get to know different dancers in the room. We always ask for name and pronouns. These are things that just like should be done everywhere to improve morale on the team and within others. A lot of people walk home together, different things like this. It also reduces the risk of disease by improving bone and muscular strength. So by exercising, you're working your body in ways where you can limit arthritis later on, and different aspects of like heart disease because your body is working in a way that is very natural to it. And yeah. So our closing question, we're going to take a few people for this. How will you bring awareness to other dancers' experiences that you learned here? This studio talk was very experience-based because we wanted everyone to make sure that we hear from different perspectives that we might not always hear in our everyday dance experiences or lives, or based on our own personal research. So I'm unsure if it was dropped in the chat, but I will drop it right now. The question again is, how will you bring awareness to other dancers' experiences that you learned here?
If you also feel comfortable, you can drop some answers in the chat as well. We'd love to take people, but you can also share that too if you're not as comfortable.
Jordan, yes.
So throughout the semester and future semesters that I'll have on the dance team, and then even taking it farther after my time at Leslie's over, one, I think the discussion that we had and that Jesse was talking about in terms of race and the BIPOC community, I've never really had a lot of exposure to that, just in general, not even just in the dance community. So I live in a very dominantly white community, went to a white public school. My dance studio was predominantly white. So I think just keeping in mind how I will never truly, as a white person, I will never truly understand what the BIPOC community has to go through on a day-to-day basis. But I think just keeping myself in check and remembering that even something simple that I've been conditioned to think in my community could have such an effect on the BIPOC individuals that I'm surrounded by. I think just keeping that in mind for the rest of my future, and trying to be as actively helpful to them as possible in the community to make sure they feel included. That's definitely my main goal going forward.
Can you share a little bit about how, like what steps exactly those like action items would be? Besides like just kind of acknowledging it in the moment, like how will you use that acknowledgement and privilege in the future?
Yeah, sure. So again, because I will never know their experience, I will like I refuse to like speak on behalf of them because I can't pretend to understand, and I want the BIPOC community to have that space to be able to share what they're going through. So I will always make sure that their voice is heard in any situation. And also just with any concerns, I know I'm
sorry
being
to
very
interrupt,
general.
but we are still recording.
Okay.
No, Alina, are we still recording? You're muted.
It is still recording just because this is action steps. So for the people who are watching this after, like they may have these action steps.
Apologies. I thought you said we are still recording. That's why. Sorry, Ava, I misheard you.
No, you're good.
But yeah, so just, not taking up the space, taking the space away from them as a white person to be able to share their experiences is one of the main things. And I think, just learning from them rather than, I don't know. I'm not necessarily following the rule of being concise, but yeah, I'm getting a little flustered. So
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Jordan. What I'm hearing is you're going to like take the experiences that you hear from BIPOC individuals, and then you're going to share it with people who may not have heard those experiences with obviously the consent of those people. So yeah, definitely. I think some good ways to do that. There's definitely a lot of books that I can link in like the follow-up email that we'll be sending out, or videos even of dancers in that way where it is styles that you may not see in your studio or on LUDT. So we can give those to you. And sneak peek for our semester, we're going to have a weekly newsletter. So we'll be sending resources every week to y'all. Yeah. Would anyone else like to share? Again, we do want to prioritize BIPOC experiences if anyone wants to share those. These can be really anything. Also, feel free to drop in the chat. We're just going to take one more person. All right, well, we'll start wrapping up. As Jesse said in the chat, we are urging anyone who hasn't shared yet. So feel free to drop in the chat, just keeping in mind that that will also be recorded. And
Awesome. We finished up. Thank you guys for coming to Studio Talk. I'm going to link the survey below. You guys can take that in your free time or maybe afterwards too, whatever feels best for y'all. Then we list our contact information as well, dance@leslie.edu and @Leslie Dance Team too.
yeah, thank you all so much for coming. In an email getting out to you probably by tonight, you'll have the recording of the Studio Talks. If you want to share it with anyone, feel free to do so. And also you received the pre-packet, so feel free to use that anywhere you need. Like if you're looking for a more concise list of terminology or anything like that, feel free to share any of the resources that we send you with anyone that you need. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate all of your time. And don't forget, this week is trial week. So I hope to see you in the studio. Jess's dances tonight. Shout out to Jess. We'll see you soon. 7 p.m. 422. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming. And if you have any questions, Ava and I can stay after for a few minutes, just in case y'all have anything.
Thank you guys for coming.